Hello everyone, this is Navarsha, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, Engineering College, Bikaner. Today we will see some of the basics of a network layer and protocol, two protocols which works on network layer, that is IPv4 and IPv6. Okay, let's start. First of all, we'll see what are the network layer design issues. So first is store and forward packet switching. So whenever a packet comes to a router, basically router works on network layer. Whenever a packet comes to a router, it has to store the packet and then it has to transfer, because basically it depends upon which switching mechanism you are using. So two types of switching methods are there: packet switching and circuit switching. So we are not discussing switching here. So in packet switching, basically what happens, every packet has different route. So router has to keep the packet so that it can be transferred via the shortest path. So basically, yes, the host sends the packet to the nearest router. This packet is stored there until it has fully arrived. But once the link is fully processed by verifying the checksum, then it is forwarded to the next router till it reaches the destination. So this mechanism is known as store and forward packet switching. Next is services provided to transport layer. Each layer has to provide some services to upper layer. So through the network or transport layer interface, the network layer transfers its services to the transport layer. These are like offering services must not depend on router technology. The transport layer needs to be protected from the type, the number and topology of the available router. The network addresses for the transport layer should use uniform numbering pattern. Also at LAN and WAN connections. And basically two types of connections are there. Two types of services can be there. One is connectionless service and another one is connection oriented. In connectionless service, the routing and insertion of packets into subnet is done individually and no added setup is required. In connection oriented service, subnet must offer reliable service and all the packets must be transmitted over a single route. And next we have how we will see how we can implement connectionless service in connection oriented service. So in connectionless service, basically packets are known as datagrams and their subnetting is known as datagram subnets. When the message size that has to be transmitted is 4 times the size of the packet, then the network layer divides into 4 packets and then transmit each packet to the router via a few protocols. Each data packet has destination address and it is routed independently irrespective of the packet. So in connectionless service, there is no dedicated path to transfer the packet. Each packet may choose its own direction based on the router. So in connectionless service, intermediate router decides the path of the packet. And in connection oriented, okay, we'll see next implementation of connection oriented service. So basically in connection oriented service, source is there to decide the path. So and that particular path is approached by each and every packet of the message. So to use a connection oriented service, first we have to establish a connection and then we have to use it and then release it. So basically three phases are there: connection establishment, then data transfer and then connection release. In connection oriented service, the data packets are delivered to the receiver in the same order in which they have been sent by the sender. And this can be done in two ways. First one is circuit switched connection and second one is virtual circuit switched connection. Circuit switch connection, we have a dedicated physical path or a circuit which is established between the communicating nodes and then data stream is transferred. Next we have virtual circuit switched connection. The data stream is transferred over a packet switched network in such a way that it seems to the user that there is a dedicated path from the sender to the receiver, and a virtual path is established while other connections may also be using the same path. In circuit switched net connection, one path we were dedicating to one particular message, and no other packet or no other packet of the another message can use this network. But in virtual circuit network, another path may also use the dedicated path. So here we can say we are optimizing the channel, we are utilizing the channel to the optimal. Okay, next we will see what is logical addressing. So we discussed in OSI model also that at network layer we use IP addresses. So IP address is nothing but logical address. Basically, logical address is the address which is used by the internet. If you want to use, see, first one is the MAC address. So MAC address is used to identify a physical machine or a computer, or it is the name of a machine. But if we talk about network layer, if we talk about a network, so in network we uses IP address, or it is also known as virtual address or logical address. So communication at the network layer is host to host. A computer somewhere in the world needs to be communicated with another computer which is somewhere else in the world. Usually the computers communicate through internet, and the packet transmitted by the sending computer may pass through several LANs or WANs before reaching the destination. So we need a global addressing scheme which is known as IP addressing or logical addressing. So right now the internet or network layer, you can say, or TCP, is using IPv4 protocol. So that IPv4 has a 32-bit addressing, and so we can use a maximum of 2 power 32 addresses. These addresses are referred to as IPv4 address or IP address also. Okay, so IPv4 address is basically 32-bit address that uniquely and universally defines the connection of a device. For example, a computer or a router or a switch, or it can be a bridge, like that. The address space is 2 power 30. It is 2 power 32. This is 2 power 32. So it is 2 power 32, or this is the value of 2 power 32. There is 4294967 Okay, next we can see here two notations are there. First one is binary notation and another one is decimal notation. So if you are representing in binary, then the first byte, the second byte, third byte and fourth byte, and then you can convert them in decimal like this. Okay, next we have two types of addressing are there basically: classful addressing and classless addressing. In classful addressing, the address space is divided into 5 classes: A, B, C, D and E. So these are the classes. Each class has 32-bit addressing. Okay, so class A, B, C and D. So in class C, some bits are fixed. So in class C, first bit of first byte is always 0, and for class B we have 10 and class C 110. So these bits are fixed. Then only a particular IP address belongs to this class. So first byte, you can say here is 0, from 0 to 127, 128 to 191, 192 to 223, and this is class C and D. So this is the binary notation and this is the decimal notation. So next we will see example. So we will see for from which class these IP addresses belong. So first one is 00000001, and this is the IP address. So here first bit is 0. So this is what A, class A address. And next we have first two bits are 1, so this is belongs to class C. Next bit we have in decimal. Okay, so next the first byte is 14, so 14 you can see this is this one, so this belongs to class A. Next the first byte is 252, so 252 comes in this range, so it belongs to class E. Okay. Okay, next these are the application of the classes and the number of block size. Okay, basically class A, B, C are used for unicast, D is used for multicast, and E is reserved for future. Okay, next we have classless addressing. So in classful addressing, a large part of available addresses were wasted. See why? Because if you are taking this particular class, so you have to take from 0 to 127. So these many networks are there, and see here one more concept is there: network ID and host network bits and host bits. So in class A, this first byte is network byte, or you can say first 8 bits are known as network bits. Then next 3 are host bits. Then these 2 are network bits. Then host bits. Then network bits, and then these are host bits. So you can see if we are taking a class A address, so for one network how many hosts are there? See, these are 24 bits are there, so we have to take 2 power 24 addresses if we are taking a network of class A. So for a single network we have to take 2 power 24 addresses. So if let's suppose if I require only 10 addresses or 20 addresses, then these many addresses will be wasted. Or if you take C also, then also you have to take at least 2 power 8 addresses. So addresses are getting wasted in classful addressing. So in classless addressing there are no classes, but the addresses are still granted in blocks. The size of the block varies based on the nature and the size of the entity. To simplify the handling of addresses, the Internet authorities impose 3 restrictions on classless addressing. First one is the addresses in a block must be contiguous one after other. The number of addresses in a block must be in power of 2. The first address must be evenly divisible by the number of addresses, or the total number of addresses. Okay, next we have IPv6 addresses. So we have seen IPv4. The size of the IPv4 address is 32 bits. So we can take only 2 per 32 addresses. So what if we need more than 2 per 32 addresses? So for that IPv6 is designed, already it is designed, but still we are not using it, but in future we may use IPv6 addresses. So the need for more addresses in addition to other concerns about the IP layer motivated a new design of the IP layer, which is known as IP or new generation of IP or IPv6, that is IP version 6. So we have 128-bit addresses. So this is the notation of IPv6 address. So 128-bit means 16 bytes we have. So we have 32 hexadecimal digits. So these are the 32 digits. Okay, so next we will see the IPv4 protocol. Okay, so this we will see next lecture. Thank you so much.